Welcome into the End of Money podcast for closing day, Saturday, October 26th at the Keeneland Fall Meet. Tom Leach, along with Jim Goodman, Keeneland's Director of Wagering Development. We'll take a look at the Grade 2 Hagyard-Fayette Stakes first, and then go back and talk about our late pick 4 tickets. Jim, this is a race that looks well matched on paper, and a couple of horses coming out of the Grade 1 Woodward that ran well. Who do you like?
I like the horses that came out of the Grade 1 Woodward. I look at that race, and Bal Harbor is going to be my top choice here, the 8 horse for Todd Pletcher. I had a 105 buyer in that race, only got beat a half length to Preservationist, and Preservationist, if he was in this field, would be probably even money. So I think Bal Harbor is a good bet. I love the buyer progression he's had through the summer. Came from Monmouth with 3 straight buyers going up, 92, 96, 101, and then jumped up another notch at the Woodward to 105. If he runs that, he's going to be tough to beat here. But a horse named Tom's d'Etat was also in the Woodward, only got beat by 1 3/4. So a length and a quarter behind Bal Harbor, and got a 104 buyer, which was matched up his top buyer at Saratoga. So I think those two, just on speed figures alone and just on back class coming out of Grade 1, are going to be the top 2 choices here. I would give a slight edge to Bal Harbor. I like the positional speed. I like the fact that he'll be able to put Gaffley will be able to put this horse wherever he wants him, and I think that he may get a little better trip than Tom's d'Etat, who's going to be on the inside. The other horse that I would use is Mosito Rojo, and I made a big mistake last time out in the Lucas Classic at Churchill. I dismissed this horse at 8-1, and all this horse has done is won 17 out of 25 races. And that was his 5th in a row, just a head and a half length away from being like 9 in a row. So the horse is Shane Wilson's best horse ever, and Mr. Davis is 90 years old. It's a nice story. His numbers look a little bit light compared to the others. They're taking a big class jump, but I'm not going to throw him out this time. I'm going to use him when we get to pick 4. The horse has won almost $800,000, and it's been a great story and would be another feather in Shane Wilson's cap if he were to get this horse home at Keeneland after winning at Churchill a few weeks ago. So that's the way I see the Hagyard-Fayette, Tom's d'Etat, and Bal Harbor. That would be my exact in here, and it may be chalky, but I think that's the way it shapes up.
Yeah, those are the 2 I like best also. And like you, I went to Bal Harbor in part because I think you might get a little better price on that one. Tom's d'Etat has, I think, 4 100-plus buyer figures, and Bal Harbor's just been coming on lately. But the one last time, the 105, was a career best, and this horse has just been steadily improving. Has won here also, which doesn't hurt. Mr. Freeze is worth a look. Really impressive race last time, and looked like this horse was headed for some bigger things last year and then hit the skids, and now second off the layoff, ran big at a mile down at Churchill in the ACAC, and they considered going to the Breeders' Cup with him. Now he's got to stretch out to a mile and 1/8, and that's a little bit of a concern, but I think he's got a shot. Core Beliefs, I think, is one worthy of a long look. I like the fact that Talamo's coming in to ride this horse, and he's kept very classy company. And I would throw in one more to consider, and that's Tenfold for the Asmussen barn. Last race was a dud. Previous race wasn't bad, shipping all the way across country to the West Coast. And this horse shows a good race up in the sloppy track at Pimlico as a 3-year-old in the Preakness. And it's probably going to be a sloppy track, and I think that might move this horse up and give him a shot to be in there at a price. But Bal Harbor is the win pick for me. Now let's go back to the 7th race, Jim, and we'll start the late pick 4. You've got a non-winners of 2 other than at a mile and 1/8 on the turf, if it stays on the turf. The 9th is the feature. The 8th is a non-winner of 1 other than 7 furlongs on the main track. And then they're scheduled to be on the turf for the last race, and it's 2-year-olds going a mile and 1/8 in there. So we'll have to let folks know, obviously, that these races could come off the turf, but I've handicapped assuming they're going to stay on. Start us in the 7th race.
Yeah, I have too, and the 7th race in particular, there's really no dirt form at all. So it's the first leg of the pick 4. So if you're off the turf, it might be a good one to spread, because I really couldn't tell There's With Dignity is run on the dirt decently at a lower level, but actually ran the Indiana Oaks a grade 3. So that would probably be my pick if it comes off the turf, but I handicapped it for the turf as well. Went 3 deep here with Layla Noor, the 2-horse for Santana and Delacour. Second off a layoff, ran in the Kentucky Downs race and got beat at the end, but only lost for 1 1/4 in nearly a $500,000 race. So Layla Noor would be my pick here. Coco Chanel comes out of the same race for B.J. Hernandez and Lopresti. Probably needed that race after a little bit of a layoff, and it's his second after a layoff, her second after a layoff as well. So the 2, 3, and then the 8-horse cash out for Landeros and Rusty Arnold. Rusty just always seems to get his horses ready. He won one yesterday, so I think I'm going to throw him in there as well with cash out, the filly on the outside. So I'm going to go 2, 3, 8 in the 7th race. I'm going to go 4 deep in the 8th race. It's 7 furlongs on the dirt. I'm going to use 1, 4, 7, 9. My pick is Proxima for Bill Mott. I'm also going to use Dizzy Sight, the 1, off the record for Le Peru, for Brissett, and Uber Kirk, the 9-horse, who I used last time out and gets a second trip over the Keeneland track. Really like that fact, and like the fact that he's got 3 wins in a lifetime, too. A lot of these only have 1 win. So 1, 4, 7, 9 in that. In the feature race, I'm going to use 3, 5, 8, the ones we talked about, Thomas Etat, Mojito Rojo, and Ball Harbor. Then the last one I also handicapped for the turf. It's horses that don't have a whole lot of dirt form. It's maiden special weight, maiden 2-year-old, so it's going to be a crapshoot if you don't. But I used Blanket of Roses here for Mike Maker, the 3-horse, Cardiac Kid for McPeak, the 4, the 8-horse Summer Palace for Brendan Wallace, who's had a great meet so far. And I also threw in Suggested for Mark Cassie. Almost went to pick trainers here more than anything else because these horses have not had much experience. So I'm going to go 4 deep in that race, 3, 4, 8, 11. So my pick 4 is 2, 3, 8 with 1, 4, 7, 9 with 3, 5, 8 with 3, 4, 8, 11, and that's $72.
I am going to use 3 in the first leg. Win pick is With Dignity, who ran well in his turf debut last time against what looked to be a pretty good bunch. And horse back in May won first time out for the Wilkes barn, and that doesn't happen often, and usually the ones that do are pretty talented. So With Dignity is the win pick. Layla Noor I like a lot here, coming out of those 2 races behind Gentle Ruler. I'm going to include Cash Out as well. This horse just has back class for the Arnold barn, and it's the second start off a layoff, and came back and ran pretty well. And so just on that back class, I'm going to throw that one in. Didn't use Coco Chanel, but that would have been my next one. Next race, I'm just going to go 2 deep. I like Off the Record a lot in there. Good race versus Performer. It's a good one from the Gahey barn up at Saratoga. And then came back and ran the next time and stumbled at the start. Le Peru rides, so I like that one a lot in there. Proschema has been facing some good fields, including that Performer race up at Saratoga. So I will add that one and just stick with those 2. If I went one more, it would be Uberkirk. In the feature, I'm going to use 4. I started to go just 2 with Bal Harbor and Tom's d'Etat, but I'm going to throw in Core Beliefs and Tenfold as well, just on the angle of he might like the slop. And then I'm going to go 5 deep in the last leg. Summer Place for Walsh. He's won with one of these newcomers to his barn from Europe already at the meet, and Rosario riding is certainly interesting. Blanket of Roses, Ken Ramsey trying to get in on at least a share, if not an outright owner's title win again. He's won a bunch of them, and this would be his last shot, his last gasp. And this horse has a pedigree to like the mud if they take it off the turf. Cardiac Kid, who also ran okay on the dirt if they take it off the turf. Bye Bye Melvin I'm going to include just because it's from the Graham Motion barn. And the 11 Suggested I'll use as well. So 2, 7, 8 with 4, 7 with 5, 6, 7, 8 with 3, 4, 7, 8, 11, $60. We'll be back next Friday and Saturday with editions of this In the Money podcast for Breeders' Cup weekend out at Santa Anita. And just a reminder for those of you in the Lexington, Central Kentucky at the Red Mile. Good luck on the closing day card at Keeneland. This is the In the Money podcast for KeenelandSelect.com.